Hi, and welcome to day 13 of our chronological Bible read through. We are in the book of Job, and we just heard from Job's fourth friend, Elihu. Elihu is on his third speech. No one talks in between his speeches. He just first speech, and then he goes into the second speech, and then he goes into the third speech. So we are on the third speech. We're going to be reading chapters 35 and 36, 37 today. And then chapter 38, we get into God speaking. So looking forward to that. So let's hear Job's fourth friend talk. He seems like the more reasonable one so far, so should be a little interesting. I also have a resource. I think I'm going to start doing a resource of the day type of thing. And so today I have a resource that is the Bible Knowledge Commentary, Old Testament, by these people, and just to get a variety of resources. You know, I have logos on the screen here, and I have a couple other study Bibles and an archaeological study Bible that has some interesting things, but you know, we'll just spice it up a little today and do this one. So with that, let's do a little prayer. God, give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. God, let any knowledge I gain serve to help me love you and others more and not puff me up. God, help me see something new about you I've never seen before. God, correct any lies I believe about you or anything I misunderstand. God, direct my steps according to your word. Amen. With that, we will jump in to Job chapter 35. Then Elihu answered, "Do you think this to be just, when you say my right before God? But you say, what will it profit you? And what do I gain by not sinning? I will reply to you, and to your friends with you. Gaze at the heavens and see. Consider the clouds which are higher than you. If you sin, how does it affect God? If your transgressions are many, what does it do to him? If you are righteous, what do you give to God? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness affects only a person like yourself, and your righteousness only other people. People cry out because of the excess of oppression. They cry out for help because of the power of the mighty. But no one says, 'Where is my God, my Creator, who gives songs in the night, who teaches us more than the wild animals of the earth, and makes us wiser than the birds of the sky?' Then they cry out, but he does not answer, because of the arrogance of the wicked. Surely it is an empty cry. God does not hear it. The Almighty does not take notice of it. How much less then, when you say that you do not perceive him, that the case is before him and you are waiting for him? And further, when you say that his anger does not punish and that he does not know transgression. So Job opens his mouth to no purpose. Without knowledge he multiplies words." Okay, that was a short chapter. Look at that, we can almost fit it on the whole screen here. Let's see, I'm going to make this a little bigger just to make sure everybody can see the actual words. And let's see, so this was a pretty easy one to summarize. So at least to me, if I'm trying to make sure I summarize things as I go to make sure I actually had my brain on as I was reading. Am I the only one that turns off their brain sometimes when they read? I don't think I am. And let's see. So Elihu's saying, I hope I'm saying that right. I say his name a lot to be saying it wrong, so hopefully that's right. Do you think it to be just when you say my right before God, but you say, what will it profit you? And what do I gain by not sinning? So he's questioning, like, hey, I think you're having the wrong approach to this, it looks like. Gaze at the heavens, consider the clouds which are higher than you. I guess that's pointing towards God. If you're righteous, what does that give to God? So your righteousness and your wickedness only affects you and the people around you. It doesn't affect God. I'm going to go to our trusty little resource here because I know it had a little thing on here. Okay. Elihu's answer was twofold. Since God is supreme, he is not affected one way or the other by man's innocence or sin, and God was not answering Job's cries because of his pride. I think that summarizes it pretty well, at least for me. I mean, God's not doing all this for his benefit. We're doing it for our benefit. Well, since this was short, let's go ahead and continue on. We'll go ahead and continue on to chapter 36. Oh, his fourth speech now. So this is like his fourth piece of paper that he's been preparing in his debate class, I guess, he's been ready. Elihu said further, "Be patient with me a little longer and I will instruct you, for I still have words to speak on God's behalf. With my knowledge I will speak comprehensively, and to my Creator I will ascribe righteousness. For in truth my words are not false. It is one complete in knowledge who is with you." Sorry. "Indeed, God is mighty, and he does not despise people. He is mighty and firm in his intent. He does not allow the wicked to live, but he gives justice to the poor. He does not take his eyes off the righteous, but with kings on the throne he seats the righteous and exalts them forever. But if they are bound in chains and held captive by the cords of affliction, then he reveals to them what they have done, and their transgressions, that they were behaving proudly. And he reveals this for correction, and says that they must turn from evil. If they obey and serve him, they live out their days in prosperity and their years in pleasantness. But if they refuse to listen, they pass over the river of death and expire without knowledge. The godless at heart nourish anger. They do not cry out even when he binds them. They die in their youth, and their life ends among the male cultic prostitutes. He delivers the afflicted by their afflictions, and he reveals himself to them by their suffering. And surely he drew you from the mouth of distress to a wide place, unrestricted, and to the comfort of your table, filled with rich food. But now you are preoccupied with the judgment due to the wicked. Judgment and justice take hold of you. Be careful that no one entices you with riches, and do not let a large bribe turn you aside. Would your wealth sustain you so that you would not be in distress, even all your mighty efforts? Do not long for the cover of night to drag people away from their homes. Take heed, do not turn to evil, for because of this you have been tested by affliction. Indeed, God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has prescribed his ways for him, or said to him, "You have done what is wicked"? Remember to extol his work, which people have praised in song. All humanity has seen it. People gaze on it from afar. Yes, God is great, beyond our knowledge. The number of his years is unsearchable. He draws up drops of water. They distill the rain into its mist, with which the clouds pour down, and shower on humankind abundantly. Who can understand the spreading of the clouds, the thundering of his pavilion? See how scattered his lightning about him. See how he scattered his lightning about him. He has covered the depths of the sea. It is by these that he judges the nations and supplies food in abundance. With his hands he covers the lightning and directs it against its target. His thunder announces the coming storm, the cattle also concerning the storm's approach. At this also my heart pounds and leaps from its place. Listen carefully to the thunder. Oh, wait, we stopped. Went right into chapter 37. Okay, we will pause then. I'm going to highlight right here so I can find it easier. Okay. I was into it. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of that. There were some things I highlighted. I could not help I think I giggled a little at Elihu here. I just, man, I'm sure I come across like this sometimes where, oh, I'm so smart. I'm just so smart. Let's see. So I still have words to speak on God's behalf. Doesn't that seem a little arrogant? of him to say he's speaking on God's behalf. How does he know that? The Hebrew text, a translator note says the Hebrew text simply has for yet for God's words. I still have words for yet for God's words. It must be something like that. With my knowledge, I will speak comprehensively, and to my Creator, I will ascribe righteousness. So I think he's doing it with a good heart. Like he's saying, I'm doing this for my Creator to show righteousness for God. Translator note says, this line gives the essence of all of Elihu's speech to give or ascribe righteousness to God against the charges of Job. Dorm translates this, I will justify my maker, and that is workable if it carries the meaning of declaring to be right. So, yeah, I mean, that does kind of summarize all of what Elihu's saying. I mean, they're all speaking to what they think is right and trying to back up God on what they think who God is, right? They're all speaking their own truth, but not all of it is true based on what we know of God from the rest of the Bible. Where does Elihu get his knowledge? I'm still wondering. I questioned this earlier in Job. Like, where did the people at this time learn the things about God and settled on it? It must be like word of mouth and oral tradition that has handed down the stories and the knowledge of God from one generation to the next. But did they have like a Bible that just wasn't, see, for in truth, my words are not false. It is one complete in knowledge who is with you. Again, if I were to say this today, I would get so many eye rolls. But I think this is probably one of those, this is how they used to word it to sound like more prestigious, like, hey, listen to me. Translator note says, often translates perfect. Elihu is either a complete stranger to modesty or is confident regarding the knowledge that he believes God has revealed to him for this situation. Yes, I would agree. That's funny. A complete stranger to modesty. We're going to go with that. If Job was a woman, we could call it mansplaining. Let's see. He reveals this for correction and says, okay, so this, I didn't have any real issue. Again, it's very poetic language, very whatever the word is for lots of descriptive terms. They die in their youth, and their life ends among the male cultic prostitutes. That seemed to stick out to me as interesting. So the translator note is among the male prostitutes who were at the temple, the holy ones, with holy being used in a sense of separated to that form of temple service. So uncleanness and shame are some of the connotation of the reference. Some modern translations give the general sense of their life ends in shame. Okay, so let's look at some of the other translations for verse 14 here. Okay, so we have New King James, NASB, ESV, and Net. I thought I had NIV on here also. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is verse 14. So New King James says, they die in youth and their life ends among the perverted persons. And then the most thought for thought I have up says, they die in their youth among male prostitutes of the shrines. So they all have something along those same lines. I just thought it stood out to me. Okay, there was also, I briefly did look at the archaeological study Bible that I have. We'll switch to that. This is the archaeological study Bible that I have. And it had a little brief note about how in where Elihu's talking about drawing up drops of water and distilling the rain into mist, which clouds pour down and shower on humankind abundantly. That was actually a relatively advanced view of how the water goes up into the clouds and then rains down. I know that people, before they were sat in front of a computer all day long, were more aware of what was happening around them in nature, but I always find it interesting when they point out those early understandings of how we understand things still today. I don't remember why I highlighted "At this my heart pounds." Oh, now I do. It's the next chapter. All right, well, let's read the next chapter. At this also my heart pounds and leaps from its place. Listen carefully to the thunder of his voice, to the rumbling that proceeds from his mouth. Under the whole heaven he lets it go, even his lightning to the far corners of the earth. After that a voice roars. He thunders with an exalted voice, and he does not hold back his lightning bolts when his voice is heard. God thunders with his voice in marvelous ways. He does great things beyond our understanding. For the snow, he says, fall to earth, and to the torrential rains, pour down. He causes everyone to stop working so that all people may know his work. The wild animals go to their lairs, and in their dens they remain. A tempest blows out from its chamber, icy cold from the driving winds. The breath of God produces ice, and the breadth of the waters freeze solid. He loads the clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through the clouds. The clouds go round in circles, wheeling about according to his plans, to carry out all he commands them over the face of the whole inhabited world. Whether it is for punishment for his land or whether it is for mercy, he causes it to find its mark. Pay attention to this, Job. Stand still and consider the wonders God works. Do you know how God commands them? How he makes lightning flash in his storm cloud? Do you know about balancing of the clouds? That wondrous activity of him who is perfect in knowledge? You, whose garments are hot when the earth is still because of the south wind? Will you, with him, spread out the clouds, solid as a mirror of molten metal? Tell us what we should say to him. We cannot prepare a case because of the darkness. Should he be informed that I want to speak? If a man speaks, surely he will be swallowed up. But now the sun cannot be looked at. It is bright in the skies, after a wind passed and swept the clouds away. From the north he comes in golden splendor. Around God is awesome majesty. As for the Almighty, we cannot attain to him. He is great in power, but justice and abundant righteousness he does not oppress. Therefore people fear him, for he does not regard all the wise in heart. We got through all the reading for today. Now, the things that I highlighted here. So this verse 5, I know that God speaks next, and so I think that this is probably, what do English people call this? Like English majors, where like a precursor to what's about to happen. Foreshadowing. I think this is foreshadowing for the fact that God is about to thunder and tell us that things are beyond our understanding. And then, again, I thought the description of how God is handling, how God makes nature work is always fun, poetic language to me. I know some of the poetry is a little tiresome for me, but this type of poetry I like. And I remember there being some type of like north meaning something and south meaning something. You whose garments are hot when the earth is still because of the south wind. I remember there being some type of thing about north and south, but I can't remember what it is. Let's see. Oh, no, don't open over there. Open over here. Elihu now asks whether Job has any part in bringing in the hot Sirocco winds. The cloudless sky is like a vast metal mirror over the landscape. Will you with him spread out the clouds, solid as a mirror of molten metal? So he's saying the translator note on the word spread out is to beat out, to flatten. The analogy in the next line will use molten metal. From this verb is derived the word for firmament, which is, we heard in Genesis 1, that canopy-like pressure area separating water above and water below. Now, and then this last part here that I highlighted, or here's one of the last parts I highlighted. But now the sun cannot be looked at. It is bright in the skies after a wind passed and swept the clouds away. The translator note, that's not super helpful. There is another way of reading this verse. The word translated bright means dark, obscured in Syriac. Well, that would change the meaning. In this interpretation, the first line would mean that they could not see the sun because it was darkened by the clouds, but the wind came and blew the clouds away. Dorm, Gray, and several others take it this way, as does the NAB. So it sounds like there's a couple different ways that this has been translated, but now the sun cannot be looked at. It is bright in the skies. But now the sun cannot be looked at. It is dark. What did these say? 21. So bright, 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 bright. So all of these translations say bright. But this says cannot, no one looks, the sun cannot be looked at. No one can look at the sun. I mean, they all kind of say the same thing. I guess it doesn't change it that much. I saw the word north. Where was north? Oh, from the north he comes in golden splendor. Again, that was the north-south thing. I wish I could remember what I'll look at the study Bible here and see if it says something about north and south. Let's see. Ooh, there's a lot of words on here. Okay, so we are looking at 37. Why would anyone format? I know that they have a lot of words to fit in a book, but couldn't you put a little more effort into formatting it in a readable way? Okay, so this is Elihu's defense of God's sovereignty and benevolence in his dealings with nature. And then 37, God's sovereignty in the summer. Job's inability to understand God's ways. Perhaps sensing God's approach in a windstorm, Elihu said that God was coming. In Ugaritic myths, Baal was said to have left his golden palace in the northern mountains, but here the true God comes from the north in golden splendor, a picture of his awesome majesty. As Job had said, God is beyond the reach of man's mental powers. Then Elihu summarized the true attributes that had been defending repeatedly: God's power, sovereignty, and his justice. Elihu was sure that God's dealings with Job were not to oppress or oppose him, though Job, before Elihu spoke, could see no other explanation. And his final words were to revere God. Elihu fittingly prepared the way for God to speak. He did so by defending God, by sensitizing Job to his need for humility, by describing God's wonders in nature and natural revelation, which God elaborated on, by probing Job with thought-provoking questions, by targeting Job's basic problem, justifying himself and condemning God, which God himself later mentions. Okay, I know that y'all can't really read that, but I don't have a better camera in order to show it. And the alternative would be me going like this into the camera, and that's not ideal either. I don't want to hold up the book. Maybe one day I'll get a better overhead projector type camera, like a second camera link thing going on. But for now, I'm going to call that a day, and thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to tomorrow where we hear the divine speeches, the Lord's first speech. A whirlwind comes and we hear what God has to say about this whole thing. We'll be reading 38 and 39 tomorrow. All right, thanks, and see you tomorrow.